Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. And today we're going to do a review of the SmackDown episode for the 7th of August 2020. I haven't watched SmackDown in a few weeks. Life has been really busy on Thursdays and Fridays for me. And it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I've watched SmackDown, so I kind of am coming into the stories out of the loop a little bit, but that's okay. Please like, subscribe, comment below if you're interested in more content of a variety of things, including um, episodes of the World Class Championship Wrestling Review series that I'm currently doing, and weekly takes on pro wrestling and pay-per-views from current day. Overall, this version of SmackDown I found very frustrating in the sense that the stuff I really liked, I really liked. The stuff I didn't made me want to turn off the show. So it left me somewhere in the middle, in that there's a lot of things on this program to like, at least half of them, if not a little bit more. But the stuff that didn't make sense, or the stuff that I find insulting, is so egregious that I literally just am looking at it going, what are we doing here? One thing that I think plagues WWE in general is the tendency to go with talents that are on top over 40 or close to 40. Now, I understand that in earlier times your main event guys would be that, but there's too many of those individuals on this program for my liking, especially when you need to rebuild, you need to rebrand. Look, you've got a TV contract through 2024 or 3. So you've got a couple of years before you need to renegotiate. You've at least got a year and a half before that renegotiation for all brands, but SmackDown specifically, since that's what we're talking about, is on the table. And the fact that you're not getting over new talents, the fact that you're not, even if you have a talent in their late 20s, early 30s, setting them up to be a part of your product as a main guy for the next 10 years, not only is it frustrating to me, it's why I believe this product, in some ways, not for the sake of the talent, but for the sake of the writers, deserves to lose. Because there is no logic behind what they're doing in terms of who they're pushing. Yes, I have some biases about talents they're pushing that I don't particularly care for. However, I can look past it if it makes sense, but a lot of times it doesn't. Anyway, so we'll go into the show review. Just a brief couple-minute overview there. So we open with a recap of the swamp fight, which I don't remember if I reviewed here or not, but suffice to say, I'm not a fan of the cinematic stuff. It just doesn't fit with me. It feels like 3 weeks ago feels like 6 weeks to 2 months ago. So I don't know if it's just my life has been busy or the stories on SmackDown drag and it just feels longer than it is. I don't know. The Alexa Bliss appearance in the match is highlighted. Strowman disappearing in the water is shown. And Wyatt stressed that he wants to be the Universal Champion. They recap Cross losing to Bayley, and then they show the mandible claw on Bliss. We open with a Firefly Funhouse segment, which I guess is fine. Wyatt welcomes everyone, mentions getting hate DMs, and he says it's not his fault that the Fiend attacked Bliss last week. I don't know that I like the split personality character. I guess I liked it in the beginning. I think it's overexposure at this point. Maybe that's a recipe of COVID, but it's just I'm not a fan of it right now. Wyatt blames Strowman for the Fiend attacking Bliss. So basically what we're saying is the Fiend as a character doesn't have control of his own body because he's blaming other people for his physical actions. He promises that he will be here later with a surprise. Wyatt promises Strowman that if he doesn't get what he wants, she'll suffer. Matt Riddle and Sheamus. Again, this is what I'm talking about in terms of over 40 guys. If it were me, I would be building the SmackDown brand around Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is in his mid-30s, I believe. To me, he's one of the most charismatic guys they've had in, I'm going to say, at least 10 years, probably longer. Um, I'd be strapping a rocket to him. You haven't ruined him yet. If you put the Intercontinental or SmackDown Championship on him and run with it for 6 months and see if it does anything. Have a legitimate athlete as a champion, see if that does anything. Have a former UFC guy who has crossover power on SmackDown, which is a um, Fox property, and Fox used to have UFC fights. See if that does anything. Like, I would be strapping a complete rocket to Matt Riddle, giving it a predetermined length of time, 6 to 9 months, and if it does nothing, at least you tried something new. Now, those who say, oh, he hasn't worked his way up the ladder, who cares? The work the way up the ladder mentality isn't working anymore. You've got to inject new blood into the various brands of WWE, and the only way to do that is to take what seems like hotshot risks. And anybody who's telling me they can't get 6 months out of Matt Riddle in programs, you need to quit your job, go home, and do something else for a living. I think he, again, to me, I put him on the level with Drew McIntyre, and I wish for McIntyre's sake on Raw that he had some level of crowd to kind of celebrate the WrestleMania win with him. He did not, obviously, because of the COVID thing, but suffice to say, like, at some level, come on, take a risk, do something calculated, and stop being cowards about rebuilding your product. I'm sorry, but at this point, I consider most of the writers filled with cowardice to not stand up to Vince. If you are so in desperate need of a job that you don't let your creativity at least try to win out, then you need to be in another industry. And I know that'll sound harsh to some, but at some point, these products are dying. And in terms of ratings, in terms of interest, engagement, and all these things, you've got to do something to shake it up. Anyway, Riddle and Sheamus, I mean, the match was fine, but Matt Riddle, who's a former world-renowned fighter, should not be struggling with a close to 40 Sheamus for as long as they did. I understand needing to fill TV time, but fill it with somebody who doesn't have a legitimate fighting background. Give this a medium level, 5 to 8 minutes maximum. Nothing more, nothing less. Anyway, so they recap Shorty G attacking Riddle last week, which just sounds weird to me. For the King's Ransom Bounty, again, why are you taking Matt Riddle, who is a star or a star in the making, and putting him with Baron Corbin? I understand that Corbin's probably got the most heat of anybody on your brand, but it's a career killer to put him in there with a guy that literally has like a level of just go away heat with not only most of the internet, but I would even say the live crowd. I don't think Baron Corbin moves a dial. Anyway, Sheamus takes over on Riddle. Riddle breaks free, and Sheamus uses a cutoff and slower pace than it needs to be. Riddle goes into an armbar and then a pin attempt. Sheamus recovers, and it's an amazing power bomb. Riddle drops him over the top rope and lands on the apron. Sheamus hits, strong, snug shots in a safe place on the chest of Riddle, climbs to the top. Riddle gets on his feet and knocks Sheamus off to the arena floor. We go to commercial. Sheamus is back in control. When we come back from commercial, it's interesting to me that they do match pacing switches always during commercial, it seems. I don't know that that's the best way to use your transitions. To me, the cutoff of a switch should be right as we come back, the first 30 seconds of television, as you come back from a television commercial break, but that's just me. Riddle breaks free. Sheamus hits a series of backbreakers and a near fall. And again, we go to a slower pace, and part of that is Sheamus is older. He's not going to be able to go, and bump and feed all over the place. Riddle back to his feet, attempts some suplexes. Sheamus gets kicked in the head. To me, that should have been a finish, but then there's forearms and an exploder style suplex, penalty kick, and a Broton for near fall. Riddle should not be having this much trouble with Sheamus. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. And he attempts the floating bro, easy for me to say. Riddle lands on his feet, charges. Sheamus hits white noise for near fall, so now we've killed Sheamus' finish. Riddle avoids the bro kick and hits a German suplex. We've seen too many suplexes from a former actual fighter to make this credible at this point. Riddle and Sheamus brawl around ringside, and then there's a strong knee from Sheamus. Riddle gets back in the ring just barely. Riddle wins by DQ when Shorty G comes in and interferes, and he nails Shorty G with a kick, he being Riddle, pronouns pal. So we move to Sheamus being upset at Shorty G for interfering. Shorty G's basically been killed again on this show. You're telling me that you're in Florida, you have the NXT talent, you have the NXT beginners class, and you can't find other people to run in on this bogus ransom gimmick? Come on, why are you using even underutilized name talent to just throw away like that? That's ridiculous. Anyway, the Fiend's going to be here tonight. Michael Cole reminds us of this. Oh, joy. And then we move into Sheamus confronting Corbin backstage. He's angry. They eventually do a match in the future. But before we get there, Corbin has to face Jeff Hardy tonight. Then we go to one of the stupid comedy segments, the Dirt Sheet junk. The best part of this was the voiceover of the late Howard Finkel. They recap the Sonya Deville attacking Mandy Rose last week. They really are trying, but Sonya and Mandy are not at the level where they should be getting this much time. They do the thing where the mic stopped working. They blame it on, I guess, the new name of the factions, Retribution. Not a fan of that name, and not a fan of where the faction's going, but anyway. Mandy Rose's hair is introduced as a guest. Yes, I did not misspeak. They do a mock comedy sketch that might be funny if you have brain damage, where they do voiceovers for the hair of Mandy Rose, and they make fun of Mandy and the Heavy Machinery team. Miz says that it's time to speak to Sonya Deville. Deville talks about how great it felt to attack Mandy Rose. This goes on and on. She has no respect left for her. Rose's music isn't going to play. She's not coming out for her revenge. And Deville points out that Mandy only made it in WWE because she won a bikini contest. She's disgusted. And she wins some sort of award for making out with Otis. Can't believe they're still going with that storyline. But anyhow, they continue to mock her until Heavy Machinery runs out. Deville is fine, I guess, but this is way too much TV time. It feels like filler. The feud between the two of them never has hit more than maybe second gear, so why they're still putting time into it, I don't understand. It's campy, it's bad television, it just doesn't work. They come back and recap Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura winning the tag team titles, and then they throw Cesaro into a singles match with Lince Dorado. Nakamura and Gran Metalik are both out there. I mean, from the standpoint of a good wrestling match, was this enjoyable to watch? Yes. Did this tell an okay story? Yes. Does this make anybody who isn't already a regular viewer want to tune in next week? No. And that should be at this point with ratings dropping. The goal shouldn't be can we fill time? The goal should be can we put hooks at least twice in the show that make people want to tune in next week and give them something they haven't had before. That should be the goal of the program each and every week, and it's not that. Anyway, so match is pretty well paced, and the Michael Cole says that the champions, the new tag champions, are extremely excited. They continue to do the lights going on and off bit. Cesaro's in control for the majority of the match. Dorado is on the floor with a head scissors. Dorado attempts a dive. Cesaro catches him. Dorado fights back and is thrown into the barricade. He then hits a Rana, sending Cesaro into the apron. Dorado attempts a crossbody. Cesaro caught him with a backbreaker, and the pace is slowed down once again. Dorado fights back, and the pace picks back up, as is to be expected with the luchador. Cesaro lifts Dorado and stands, and then we go to standing on the shoulders, backflip onto his feet. Dorado then hits a springboard stunner for a near fall, and a Rana for another near fall. Cesaro recovers, hits the Gotch neutralizer for the win. It's a fine match, but again, if you're just tuning in, and I always watch the show thinking I'm either a non-fan or a casual fan, and I'm flipping through. Would this have made me stop and pay attention to what's on wrestling if I was either a non-fan or a lapsed fan? And the answer is no. I might have paid attention to Cesaro for a few seconds, but the height disparage and the lack that Lince Dorado is a bit player at best does not make a casual fan stop. Anyway, Caleb Braxton interviews Heavy Machinery. Otis notes that Miz and Morrison could say what they want about him, but not about his girlfriend. So then the Fiend and Braun Strowman promo comes on. This didn't make any sense. They spend years, maybe months to years, building up this alliance or on-screen and off-screen friendship between Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss. They kill it dead. Fiend walks around the ring, crawls towards Bliss, as Bliss is part of things. He teased applying the mandible claw on Bliss again, and then she stops him, touches his face, and suddenly Strowman appears on screen. He claims he didn't care about Bliss. He's an evil monster, and he'll give the Fiend whatever he wants. Strowman agreed to face the Fiend at SummerSlam. So many problems with this. Number one, you have Matt Riddle, you have Shorty G, you have Cesaro, you have even Jeff Hardy at this point, and you're giving us this as the Universal Championship match at SummerSlam? Are you serious? Like, okay, I get that there's storylines in wrestling. I even get that there are some people that believe that the storylines matter more than the actual bell-to-bell action. But on the second biggest free preview of the year, this is the best you can do? Like, at what point do you look and go, our belief that story-driven stories it doesn't work the same way it did 20 years ago. Just, I don't get it. Anyway, it's a weird segment, killed time. I assume that maybe there's a turn against the Fiend at SummerSlam with Alexa, but anyway. Then we go to another match that makes no sense. Two guys who just are dead in the water. Jeff Hardy, and they really did try with him to get him back over with some of the segments about his addiction and wanting to make good and all that, but it didn't work. It hasn't worked. Anyway, and then King Corbin slow match. Hardy takes an early advantage. Corbin avoids the twist of fate and gets a clothesline for near fall. And then Corbin slows the pace even further. Hardy breaks free and hits a sliding drop kick. And then we see Hardy sending Corbin to the barricade. Another near fall off the deep six by Corbin. Corbin hits Hardy with a knee, sending him to the floor. Sheamus runs out, hits a brogue kick on Hardy for disqualification. Corbin's furious. Sheamus interferes. They fight at ringside. Then we go into Sheamus and Corbin. At this point, I'm thinking that a lot of people missed the SmackDown taping because we're seeing so few wrestlers. Even slower pace between these two guys. I'm not a Corbin fan. I don't get why he's on TV so much. But he is what he is, and you're not going to change who they like, so deal with it, I guess. So basically, both heels are going at it. It's a strong match. We go into commercial. We come out of commercial. Corbin hits Sheamus with a clothesline at ringside, and bounces his head off the table, the announcer's table a few times. Sheamus recovers. They're back in the ring. Sheamus sends him out to the floor again with a clothesline, and then Sheamus misses a top rope move, and there's a side slam for near fall. Corbin slows the pace down again. Chin lock for everybody. Sheamus powers up and hits the white noise. Corbin slips out again with another clothesline. Matt Riddle comes out as a distraction, and Sheamus hits the brogue kick for the win. Bayley and Sasha are in the back. They're discussing Bayley's match with Asuka on Raw, and Bayley wished that Banks asked her before volunteering for that match. An office worker approaches and informs them they need to go to the ring to meet with Stephanie McMahon for a conference call. Big E interview. This is fun. Hopefully they follow up on it. Big E basically says that both his teammates are on the shelf. He's done a lot of cool things with New Day. Mentions Serial, among other things. He's ready to see what he can do as a singles guy. Then Bayley and Sasha conference call with Stephanie. Stephanie praises Bayley and Sasha for winning all 3 championships at various times. Bayley mentions McMahon's daughters and says that they're just finishing what Stephanie started with less loopholes in the rulings. Banks and Bayley try to apologize, but she's mad, and then there's Triple Threat Brand Battle Royal next week with the winner getting a title shot against Bayley at SummerSlam. Asuka and Banks has also been set up as a rematch. In the backs, Miz, Morrison, and DeVille. They make fun of Heavy Machinery again. Miz and Morrison are getting too much time on the TV. And then we move to Heavy Machinery versus Miz and Morrison with Sonya Deville. This match is just clunky. I understand why it's here because it was set up in an early show angle. But at the same time, if it wasn't here and they gave more time to something that actually mattered, it would have been a good idea. Tucker tries some mat wrestling. Morrison gets grounded. Morrison's been wasted since his return, but I get coming back just for the sake of money. Tucker avoids a kick and hit a clothesline. Otis and Tucker sandwich Miz with a splash, and Tucker hits a senton on his opponents on the outside. We go to the break. The heels are finally in control when they come back. Morrison hits a double foot stomp and a running knee. Miz follows up with a DDT for near fall. Tucker fights back, and Otis gets the hot tag. Otis runs wild on the heels and is in control in the ring. He hits a splash in the corner, followed up with a caterpillar. But Miz breaks that up, and Tucker charges the heels, but again, he runs into the barricade. They sure do like using the barricade, don't they? Miz then sends Otis into the steps. Mandy Rose is out with her short hair, attacks Sonya, and they brawl around. Both ladies brawl around ringside. So all four guys, who one of which is a former world champion in the Miz, they spend time trying to break up these mid-card women. Oh, jeez. Don't ask me why they do these things. Anyway, we come back, and we're in the back. The lights go out, and Michael Cole and Corey Graves freak out at ringside, and a bunch of people, men and women, in black masks and hoodies, run out with crowbars and baseball bats. Cole assumes this is retribution, but he has no idea. Cole and Graves are chased off. They attack a few fans in the audience. They flip the announcer's table. They spray paint the ring mats, steps, and ring skirts. Somebody brings a chainsaw. They cut the ring ropes. Retribution celebrates. So we don't know why Retribution's here. We don't know who they are because they're in masks. We don't know what their motive is. We haven't heard them speak. Like, I get that you want to add intrigue, but even if you give them a line, we're here to destroy WWE because we weren't given opportunities. Even if you give them, we're here because there aren't enough people in black masks on WWE television. Give them something, because otherwise, who cares? You haven't made anybody care with this angle. Anyway, so that is the SmackDown review for the 7th of August, and hopefully it was helpful to you. In any event, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.